Let's face it, boys and girls, our world population is rapidly increasing. There are currently 7.9 billion people on this planet, which means that food scarcity is a danger to us all. Today's list, we're going to tell you 9 ways how food systems are failing humanity. First up at number 1, the global food system promotes inequality. This year alone, there are 850 million undernourished people in the world. The saddest part of all of that is over 19,000 people die of hunger every day. This happens despite the creed of the Global Food System, or Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO. They promise food security, availability, and access to food to everyone for their nutritional well-being. But this is a lie. In the US, more than 29 million people live in areas that don't even have a supermarket. That means that roughly 15% of the American households do not have enough food to put on their table. To people who live in urban areas, fresh food isn't always available or affordable. One of the main reasons for this inequality is that farm policy incentives promote an excess production of fats, meats, and sweets. Producers then choose to minimize costs through extreme food processing. Hydrogenated soy oil and high fructose corn syrup increase shelf life of products and makes the production easier. Now, that's food for thought, I'd say, or rather, no food. Number 2, unsustainable agriculture. Agriculturists are not planning for the future. They're only thinking in the present, not concerned about future generations. They're using more modern technology than before, but it comes as a severe cost. Damage such as land degradation through water and wind erosion is increasing. The end result is loss in biodiversity. Even if you live in a beautiful area surrounded by green grass and trees, not everybody is that fortunate. According to the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, most of the 20 million square kilometers of the world's drylands, which support 500 million people, are subject to degradation. Some 60,000 square kilometers of land are lost each year. The FAO adds this: about 35% of all irrigated land, the major source of cereals and export crops, is at risk of salinization because of poor management. Humid and semi-humid forests support 1,000 million people and are the world's largest biomass reservoir, but their sustainability is threatened by the removal of trees and the degradation of watersheds. Most of this is caused by clearing for agriculture, which is unsustainable either because the fertility of the soil is low or because the methods of cultivation are unsuitable. Grocery stores provide the illusion of an infinite supply of food. Climate change, however, is devastating this supply. You're taking more than this planet can keep up with. Eventually, it will run dry. Number 3, diseases are spreading from animals to humans. Terrifying, isn't it? To think your yummy food might kill you. This is the case for thousands or millions of people every year. Naturally, animals are born to resist natural diseases, but intense livestock farming can create a pathway between wild animals and farm animals, giving opportunity for diseases to spread between the two. Intensive livestock farming can also cause genetic similarities within herds and flocks. These animals are more likely to contract pathogens when they're living too close together in confined spaces. These pathogens jump to humans. These viruses, bacteria, and diseases include plague, zoonotic influenza, salmonellosis, West Nile virus, emerging coronaviruses, rabies, brucellosis, and Lyme disease. It's crucial that farmers should take a close look at what conditions they're keeping their animals in. Maybe we can avoid a coronavirus pandemic next time. Number 4, the use of pesticides. Pesticides are nothing new. You've all heard of pesticides being used in agriculture. The issue at hand is that people are getting sick from food. A massive number of pesticides and chemical fertilizers are being used in agriculture to increase yields. These potentially toxic pesticides can cross over to humans, resulting in health issues. Here are some examples of health issues associated with pesticides: Parkinson's disease, leukemia, breast cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. A lot of you have turned to organic fruits and vegetables, but is that truly enough to phase out pesticide crops? The change has been too slow to make a real difference. What do you think? Number 5, global food systems are speeding up climate change. Global food systems are destroying our planet. Greenhouse gas emissions are increasing by the year because of them. Did you know that roughly 25% to 45% of all global greenhouse gas emissions can be traced to agriculture? If you take a look at your packaged foods, read the label closely, you can find that every product comes from a certain certain country but is packaged in another. For example, kiwi fruits are grown in New Zealand but flown to the US. Bananas grow in Ecuador and are sold in other countries. Corn is grown in Argentina, then shipped around the world to be made into breakfast cereal. All the ships, trucks, trains, and planes account for a huge amount of pollution. Think about all the forests that are chopped down to grow crops, releasing carbon emissions. And of course, the methane gas released by livestock like pigs, goats, sheep, and cows. Think about that next time you want to buy a can of corn. Try and opt for a local can instead of an imported one. It'll do the planet a favor. Number 6. Epidemics of chronic disease and obesity. Commodity crops are essential for industrial agriculture. These are high-calorie crops such as wheat, maize, corn, sugarcane, and rice. Farmers produce these instead of healthier crops because they're cheaper. Of course, it is important to eat commodity crops to live a healthy, balanced lifestyle. They are essential for lower-income families, but the problem is that on their own, these foods do not fill all the nutritional needs. In comparison to these crops, fruits and vegetables are much more expensive. Everyone's more interested in packaged and processed food than eating a healthy and well-balanced diet. Over $400 million is spent in the USA every day on obesity-related diseases. These diseases include diabetes, cancer, and heart disease. In 2021, there are 1.7 billion overweight and 700 million obese people in the world. I'm not here to fat shame or anything. It isn't even about the person having an issue of being obese. It's about the food system that promotes it. There are all these ads on TV telling you about which delicious snacks you should eat. It's all about making more money. The more you eat, the more money you're putting in their pockets. Rather spend your money on fewer commodity products and buy yourself a couple of fruits and green veggies. Green is good. Remember that. Number 7, food systems are too expensive. Food systems are expensive for the environment. Air and water pollution is caused by greenhouse gases from conventional agriculture. This also causes the destruction of wildlife. It costs the environment nearly $3 trillion every year. Everyone, including you and me, are paying tax for funds to treat diseases related to poor nutrition and to purify contaminated water. Don't you think there's a huge problem with this? Why are we paying for the mistakes of the agricultural industry? Number 8, antimicrobial resistance. We've already discussed the threat of pathogens in livestock, but antimicrobials are another major threat. They're used to speed up livestock growth. The problem here is that eventually microorganisms become resistant, causing antimicrobials not to work properly as a medicine. It's horrible when you have an infection that cannot be cured by medicine. This is what happens to 700,000 people every year who end up dying because of farmers messing around. Share your thoughts on this one down in the comments section. The future looks grim when you look at the predictions that by 2050 these antimicrobial diseases are going to cause more deaths than cancer. This is what the WHO, or World Health Organization, has to say about the matter. Antimicrobial resistance threatens the achievements of modern medicine and may precipitate a post-antibiotic era in which common infections and minor injuries can kill. Either farmers need to stop using antimicrobials or new forms of medicine past antibiotics need to quickly be developed. Otherwise, we're all doomed. Number 9, contamination of water and soil. There are over 600,000 deaths every year due to contaminated water. Over 4 billion liters of water is used every year. Nearly 1 billion people do not have access to safe drinking water. Agriculture pollutes the earth by releasing chemicals, manure, growth hormones, and antibiotics into water sources. Not only do these things affect people, but also fish. Everyone exposed to such contaminated water is at risk. One example is the use of nitrate, which is common in agriculture. This chemical causes blue baby syndrome, which is deadly in small babies. Countries with the worst access to clean water include Eritrea, Papua New Guinea, Uganda, Ethiopia, and Somalia. The saddest part of all of that is the agricultural industry doesn't care about the poor. They'd happily let people die from dirty water just to make a few extra bucks. These 9 points tell us that the agricultural business is corrupt and does not care about you or nature. Thanks for watching.